What's up YouTube, it's Taco Twans here, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be putting on bigger tires on the Tacoma. We're going to see which tire size you can go, the largest size you can go without having to rub and trim and cut and all that. And we're going to put it on the stock Tier D wheels, because we know a lot of you like the stock Tier D wheel look, so we're going to do that first. And later on we're going to switch it out to different offset wheels and stuff. But for this video, we're going to check ground clearance, offset, all that. We're going to turn the wheel and see if it rubs anywhere after we put on these.
Yep, so let's do some measurements first. So we're going to see at 30 psi where the maximum ground clearance, or actually the lowest ground clearance, is in the back and in the front. And then after we install the largest tire size, then we're going to measure again to see where it is after that. So let's start in the rear. Right here is going to be our lowest point. Well, technically the shock mount is a little bit lower, but that's so close to the tire that you're not really going to hit that. So the diff is going to be our lowest point in the rear, and we are at exactly 9 inches from the ground to the bottom of the diff in the rear. And then in the front, this looks like it's going to be the furthest forward. So this is going to be the first thing you hit. So let's measure that. And that is at 11.5 inches from the ground to this subframe on the vehicle. Great. So this is the tire that we're going to be testing on this truck. So this is a 255/80/17. So it's a 33.1 inch tall tire. It's a little bit skinnier than the factory one, but this is going to keep us within the fender walls or the fender flares and behind the vents where they are inside of the fender flares. So if we went with a 285, which we're going to install one on the factory tire as well in just a little bit, we'll show you guys the difference. 285/70/17 is the most common size that most Toyota guys will go to, but we're going to install this and see how it does.
So this is the difference in the thickness of the tires. This is the new one. Old one, much skinnier.
So now we are installing a 285/70/17, which is also a 33-inch tire, but it's wider than the 255/80 we just installed. So we're going to put both of these on there and see how they look and everything like that. So let's fill this up.
All right, so we have all three of them lined up here. This is our stock wheel, 285, 255, and you can see that this one sits the tallest. About almost an inch taller. I'd say half an inch.
Yeah, about half an inch.
This one is going to probably be the most proportionate. We're used to wider tires, so this one's going to look the most normal in this truck. Only issue is clearing the fenders in the front. And then this is the stocks that we just took off. So we're going to put these two, one on each side, and we're going to see the clearance and we're going to see how it looks. Obviously this one's going to look a little weird. It looks like a tractor tire. So let's do this.
So we got both tires on the vehicle now. This is the 255/80/17 on the passenger side. And it did look a little narrow off the vehicle, but once it's on here, it actually is not too bad. And it stays within the fender flares. And actually, this is actually still functional as it can wrap around the tires. Now on the driver's side, we have the 285/70/17. And it is a more proportionate tire. But you can see here, we are still in the fender flare, which is good. I'm just not exactly sure if these are fully functional still, but we're going to set it on the ground since this is at full droop and both tires are still in the fender flares, which is good. So let's drop it down and see what it looks like. since the 285/70/17 is a little bit wider, we only really need to test this one to see if it rubs on anything, because if this one rubs, or if it doesn't rub actually, then for sure the 255/80 will not rub. So we're gonna go all the way to driver's side. Let's see here. Oh yeah, we got 2 fingers before the factory piece that you can actually remove if you wanted more clearance. So this thing is pretty much ready for 35s once it has a lift, but 2 inches is probably comfortable. That way when you're actually off-roading, you'll clear that with no issues. And then all the way passenger, we have a little bit more than 2 inches. We have 2.5 inches of clearance right here. So this is a very comfortable size to go with. That way, even at a bump or anything like that, or a dip, you guys or we won't hit that. So this is a perfect size for this. And let me move it back to flush, or straight I should say. Once it's straight, looking down this is perfectly even with the fender flares. So I believe this size here is the perfect size for something like this where we don't have a lift. So we saw that 285/70/17 33-inch tire clears even at full lock both ways. So we wanted to test this one out. This is a 285/75/17, which is a 34-inch tire. And what we've done here is we've jacked the lower control arm up to pretty much almost at full stuff. And we actually had to take off the sway bar that's on the ground right here to allow us to move that far up. So realistically, I'm not sure if the truck will allow you to go as far as we are here, but we're gonna test that out. So once we get this back on the ground, we're going to maybe use our forklift to lift it up and see if the sway bar is going to allow us to get that much travel up. Right there. So we got everything back together. Coilover or shocks are in. Sway bar is back on. This is the passenger side with the 285/75/17 34-inch tire. So what we're going to do is we're going to cycle it and see if it hits anywhere. If it doesn't, then we should be good at least at ride height. And then just see how close it is. If it's too close, then obviously it's going to hit when it hits a bump or a dip. So let's take a look. So if we could turn it all the way to the driver. So let's take a look right here. So this is going to be your closest point of contact right there. If you can come back, driver or passenger, right there, stop. So about 2 inches. So if you were about here, you hit a bump, you would probably might just touch it just a little bit. So that's actually not too bad. So now let's take a look at the back. So all the way to passenger. So right here, your mud flap obviously is easy to take off. Come back a little bit, Lawrence. Right here. Okay, stop. This is going to be the closest. This is, in my opinion, too close for comfort. But if you guys are okay with removing this piece, which Toyota calls their safety piece or whatever it is, but they made it removable so that way if you wanted to run bigger tires, you can. So Toyota made it that way and designed it that way for a reason. So if you wanted to run 34-inch tires, all you have to do is take off your mud flaps and remove that piece there, which has a felt piece in the front, and then behind it is a metal brace. So at that point, you'll be able to clear 34-inch tires. So this is kind of our biggest tire that we think you can run on your factory wheels and suspension setup. So we know now that the largest size you can go with is a 285/75/17 34-inch tire. If you wanted to remove that piece, the safety piece, and really, if you want to go off-road, you should trim it just a little bit off the front as well. So very minimal trimming if you wanted to go with 34s on factory suspension and factory wheels. So now that we have, well, actually, what we decided to go with is the 285/70/17. That way we don't have to take off that piece and we can fully cycle the suspension without any rubbing issues. And then we'll go larger tires once we put a lift on it. So what we're going to do now is measure how many inches we've gained in the front, and then we'll go measure in the back. So let's get down here. So we are now measuring the same spot at 12 inches exactly. So you guys can see right there, 12 inches. Now let's go measure in the back. Now, measuring the diff, we were at 9 inches before. Now we are at 9 3/4. Let me see if I can put that straight so you guys can see. 9 3/4 is where we are at. So we gained almost an inch from the factory tires. Lastly, what I want to talk to you guys about are tires. So when you guys are selecting tires, if you are in an area where you want better snow tires, you will want to choose something like this. So this is a Toyota Open Country AT3. This is a triple peak or 3-peak snow rated tire, which means it is very good in snow. And you have to go through some kind of certification, some testing to get the symbol on your tire. So when you guys are looking for snow tires or something better in snow and all year round, look for that symbol. And then you will also want to look for something like this. This here is a C rated tire. And what that means is it's strong enough to be used as a off-road tire. However, it has softer sidewalls, so it's not going to be best when you air down. So it's more prone to getting a puncture on the tire versus this one down here. This here is right here an E rated tire. This is also an AT3, 3-peak snow rated, but the E rated tires have a stronger sidewall, so it's less prone to popping it, but it does come at a little bit heavier of weight. So that is the only con. So if you guys want something lighter, save a little bit of MPGs, go with a C. If you want something stronger and can handle some rocks, go with an E-rated tire. Okay, so you guys saw there, we decided to go with a 33 285/70/17 for our truck. Bone stock wheels, stock suspension, and we went with a Toyo RT Trail, which is the most aggressive, pretty much all-terrain tire that you can go right before an MT. So this here, these are the 37 12.5/17. These are going to be going on our Tacoma a little bit later once we have our lift kit installed, but these are so big it's crazy to think that that's going to be going on that tiny truck. But that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it and you guys subscribe to the channel, and we will see you guys in a later video.